Okay, so we now have our trusses, completely done. You can take them off the wax paper. They kind of running your finger underneath them there and getting it to separate, which this is kind of fighting me out a little bit. All right. And so truss 1 and truss 2. Also, as a little tip, we talked last time about having a hard time getting the gusset plates to adhere. I stuck pins in them very, very carefully. You got to make sure you don't crush your tubes as you do that, but just as a way of making sure they stuck and that I got good adhesion, that was what I used to hold them together. We'll probably use those in putting the whole thing together like we're about to here in a second. I am going to move these off to the side. We'll bring those back in a minute. And we're going to need some glue. And I'm going to leave this tacked down. If it's sticky and tacky, I think that'll help you be able to maneuver it a little bit. So I'm going to leave it there on the ground or on the wax paper and not pry it off yet. We can do that later, which means I'll probably make one more video after this to see how it works out. Okay, so I'll put a little glue on the table here. Grab our applicator, and just like we've been doing, we are going to put some glue on all these spots. And again, just like the other gusset plates, it can be hard to get the glue to stick here just because it's hard to get everything to be flat like you want it to be. So, I mean, I may even take this up afterwards. I don't know. I'll have to see how it sits on here. Usually depends on how good a job you did with your top bar, your top cord on your bridge. If it's wavy, it's going to have a hard time adhering because we're not going to have a hard time getting it down flat enough. And if that's the case, we may have to pry it off and pin it. But we'll stay optimistic and hope that that's not the case. So again, we're putting it just on the outside of these gusset plates here because that's where our 10 millimeter bars from our trusses are going to lay. So pop that in there, a little bit more there. Hopefully that should be good. So then we're going to come up here and we're going to set our truss down. And we want to make it so, it's kind of hard to see this at this angle, but each one of our verticals are lined up with our 6 millimeter bars. It's a good way of making sure. We also want to make sure that we're nestled up nice and tight to those 6 millimeter bars and not hanging off. And you want to kind of pull that truss in as far as you can. I do think we're going to take this up. So I apologize if you've already done this, but I think it's going to, because I think I'm going to pin mine in place to help that adhesion process out a little bit. We are going to try this. Oops, it's still stuck. Where we stand this up. Well, it can be a bit of a fight trying to get it to stick on here the way you want it to. So let's try this. Let's try and go and put a pin in each one of these for now. You gotta be careful when you put the pin in that you don't pull something out of whack. It just help set on there a little bit better. Sorry, hard to see it here. Just putting pins in between the gusset plate and the 10 millimeter top cord. And then I'm going to slide the other truss in underneath it on the other side. There is no front and back, so you're just kind of setting it down here. Same kind of deal. We'll go back and double check and make sure if we have any areas that are sticking up because we don't want that. We want it sitting right down on it. You can see, ooh, we got a little bit of glue there. You can see we have pretty good structure to all this already, so that's a good sign. And then these ends fold over, but I didn't put a ton of glue on that spot, so I'm going to go through and add a little more glue onto the very ends because I wasn't sure if we were going to do them now or not. But we are. So Slide a little glue in there. Slide a little glue in there. More there. Okay. And then we'll flip it back over again. And we'll squeeze those down. Let's hope you can see that. If not, I'm sure you'll see it on the other side when we flip it here. If you remember way back when you cut those gusset plates out, I'm going to add one here because this is prying up. They had a dotted line on them, and I told you it was a fold line. It wasn't an exact, like, this is 100% where it goes. It was kind of an approximation. And so, hopefully you didn't fold those in advance. I know we talked about it. In there. Get that to sit down. In there. And then same thing. I'm just going to go back here, take a look at any areas that might be coming up a little bit, because we don't want that. And just pin those down so it stays down. I think I am going to stop here. Let this dry up a little bit. And then show you, you know, maybe, let's see. We'll have to see how it goes here. I'm going to turn it over and see if I can maneuver it with these pins in it. I may or may not be able to. So then, on the underside here, we have to put our floor beams in. We also have one here that's a little long, so we'll cut that. So 10 by 6 kind of coming apart on us a little bit. I might stick a little Elmer's glue in there just to get it to stay together a little bit, even though it's rubber cement. It just doesn't want to stick. Sometimes that rubber cement just comes loose on you. So I'm just going to slide a little in. And I'll put a pin in that. So hopefully that works. I don't know. Maybe. All right, so then we're going to have to put our floor beams on. Our floor beams are our 6x15s. They are right here. And it's hard to see the line, but we measured them to length. So I'm going to cut those out. And you need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. Right? I think we actually have you cut quite a few more for some reason than you need. Not sure what that reason is. Should only need 5. Now it's coming apart a little bit. Now I don't need them all, so let's use a different one here. Alright, so there's ours. So, we have a couple that looks like they're marked off here. So those are no good. So there's some on here that are no good. Those are good. Those are good. So we do need those ones coming apart a little bit. Alright, so what we want to do is they're going to go in between our members, our gusset plates right here. But we need a way to glue them on. So what we're going to do is we're going to come to the ends of them here. I know it's stuck together pretty good. Since those two are not. And we're just going to make a small little incision, like a cut, right, at each one of these corners. We'll see what I'm talking about in a minute here. You know, I don't know, 5 millimeters, something like that. Don't measure it. Just enough where you can get the ends to flare out like that, right? Do the same thing on the other side. Flare those out. And then those are going to go in between like that. We're going to glue them in place, right? So, you know, I can just leave that right there. Imagine I already put the glue on and it's sitting there, and that way I can move on. I am going to make one more video after this, because I'm going to come back and show you what the final thing looks like, rather than just have you watch me sit here and glue all 5 of these on here. But the last piece that goes on is the 28 by 13. It's the L that we talked about forever ago. You take our applicator and you're going to put it, I'll flip this over, we'll do it this way. So we are going to put glue on our end piece here, right on the end. And although it probably won't stick, I'm going to stick some under there too, because I'm saying it won't stick because it's kind of hollow, but anything we can get just to hold it in place will probably help. And then we're going to stick this on here. This is a 28 by 13, which is the width of the bridge. Then we're going to try to pin it in place like we've been doing. It's just going to act as the end of the bridge. I'm going to pull that one all the way through so it really has a chance to grab at it. Same thing on that side. Keep an eye on it. So that's the 28 by 13. I don't know if you could see where I was working there, but that gets glued onto the end. We want that to try and stick on the bottom too if we can. Not always the easiest thing to do. I don't know how well you could see me working there, but that was that. So I am going to make one more video after this. I'm going to finish putting this together, and I'll show you what I did. As you're working, if we were talking about these beams, the floor beams go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then the two end pieces. Sorry, it's hard to make this. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the end pieces go on the ends, obviously. So I'll be back in a little bit. I'll show you the last one.